Thank you, everyone, for coming. It's a beautiful venue. My name is Rachel Kim. I'm from the Femtech Salon, and I actually have a community where we help support women and non-binary founders actually get funding through our event series. And we all know that finances are a topic of today. So really lovely and excited to talk to Anna.
Thanks so much for having me over. And I cannot tell you enough how many conversations I've had already today with all of you stopping by our table and saying, oh my gosh, I need this. I need to hear about this topic. I don't do enough on it. I don't talk enough about it. So I'm very excited to be here.
Fantastic. Well, so we always like to start with a my comment intro, and my comment really is one, taking time for yourself, two, acknowledging all sides to yourself, and I feel like we're going to discover our financial side as women, and then three, the fact that it takes community to move this forward. So, I'm an entrepreneur, an adrenaline junkie. Anna, tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Totally. So I am a boy mom. I have a son who is 4 years old. I am a certified financial planner. That's what I do during my days. I also have a podcast, and this is actually one of the reasons how I ended up here, thanks to Sasha. I am a manicure junkie, so I love to do that for my self-care, and I am a lover of anything personal finances. I read a lot about it. I have educational community, online courses, so that's my thing to gig out on.
Let's just get a little bit personal before we get into business. What has been the rose of this week, and what has been the thorn of you being a mother, but also, someone who actually works in finance?
Yeah, totally. I think the rose for this week, actually, all the conversations I've had today, I totally didn't expect it. I knew this was an interesting topic. In my opinion, financial wellness should be under the umbrella of wellness, but I just was astonished to hear so many comments, feedback. So thank you. The thorn is that I really was bummed last night because I missed my son's bedtime story, and but I get to go home tonight, so I'm gonna catch up on that.
So, when we talk about the topic of finance, right, historically speaking, we've been socially conditioned to not consider it or be a part of it. It's not from a traditional role as women. How did you get into this, and why are you passionate about it?
Yeah, very good question. So I come from an immigrant family that immigrated to the United States in the early 90s. So their goal was to work hard to provide for my brother and myself. And so conversation of money didn't exist. It was something that we just didn't talk about. So when I started college, I wanted to become a doctor. That's the path you should take, right? First generation in this country. And so I actually fell in love with personal finance topic along the way and switched my major because I wanted to apply this need and desperation for being better with finances and also have a career at it. So I was fortunate enough to find a track for financial planning, and this is kind of how all of it came together for me. And two, because seeing my parents struggle and now having my own family really comes together like a full circle. Can I do better for myself? Can I do better for my clients? And can I teach the next generation, right, to do better? So that's the passion.
So we're all here because we want to understand and discover our own self-care. What does financial self-care mean to you, and what has been the impact of this practice?
Yeah, totally. I was actually really excited for this talk because I feel like topic of money, whether it's a big conversation that all of us feel like we need to have but never do, really comes down to small practices, daily rituals. And so I've discovered over time for myself is that just like getting a cup of coffee in the morning or brushing your teeth or getting your hair done, if you can introduce these practices into your daily, maybe weekly life, then when a big decision comes that you're faced to make, it's a lot easier and you're a lot more prepared for it. So about 10 years ago, I was already practicing financial planning. I wanted to start assessing finances more as a tool, not just something that we all have to do. And so because it's a tool and it helps me and my clients achieve their financial goals, so how do I use that tool? And so I just out of a blue one day just told my husband and said, how about we go on a money date? And he looked at me and was like, okay. And he had a big smile because his idea was of a date. But from there, it's been 10 years. And so we've been having a weekly money date. It's very casual conversation, but we always check in to see how things are. How are we doing with our overall spending, which again, basic but necessary conversation. Do we have any debt that occurred all of a sudden, or are we, overspending? We both run our businesses. So for those of you who have side hustles or have businesses, you have unstable income. How much money did you make that week? So like checking in to see. And then last but not least, our financial goals. So, and that piece to me is the most exciting. Like you can get the numbers and the minutia just from anywhere, but how can you check in with the goals that you set for yourself? So a really simple one, what if you're saving to go on vacation, right? So, and it's this summer. So like, have you done all the steps, including the financial part, to make sure that's on track? So like the goal piece and these check-in moments have been really, really fun.
Fantastic. So it's small little rituals that you've embedded with your husband. I'm assuming your clients have done this as well. You can apply in any direction. And you talk about this money date, right? So just, what happens if you set a date, you talk about these areas, are there tools to support this? I'm just curious to see how we can make this easier for other people to incorporate into their lifestyle.
Yeah, totally. So I love the idea of simplicity. And so first, I think at the very least, we all can put in like a regular appointment, just like an appointment with a doctor, dentist, or anything on a calendar. Like if it's not, for me personally, if it's not on my calendar, isn't going to happen. So our money dates are on Sundays, and believe it or not, I still look at my calendar. I mean, you all have these, right? You all look at the phone all day long. So having that recurring appointment with yourself is a really psychological shift. So that's number one. Number two, I do have a free download for how to conduct a money date. It's a little checklist that you guys can pick up over here or at our table. But very simply, start with understanding your income, your expenses, right? If you want to make it even simpler, break it down onto the weekly practice. So what's going on in this week, right? What are my responsibilities, or what bills are coming up due? And then look at how your income is aligning. If you have the luxury of getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, then that could be aligned, right, with it. If you don't, that's even more critical to kind of align all of your expenses with your income. And then start making a list of your goals, your financial goals. And how do you create a financial goal? A financial goal is a goal that has three things. It has a date attached to it. So like that vacation that I mentioned in the summer. So like you want to go on a trip in July of 2023. So it's a very specific date. It has a dollar value attached to it. I need $10,000 for my trip, or whatever that is. And then intention is the third piece, right? And so all of a sudden, it's not just a dream or something that you wish you had the opportunity to do. It's an actually practical and attainable goal that you can track, monitor, and follow through. And then as far as tools, I like to use, there's a few variations of this, or any personal financial apps that allow you to track your expenses, income, and actually Mint.com is what I use, Mint, MINT.com. Personal Capital, personalcapital.com. They all allow you to, aggregate all of your spending from bank accounts, from credit cards, and have a big picture. And so all I do is I pull that up on my app, or you can do it on the computer, and it gives you a really clear picture. Also, now they start to offer a feature where you can track your financial goals too. So you can like set the date, set the dollar value that you're trying to fund, and it shows you like real progress along the way.
Just to add a little bit more color to this, right? This is a secret question. You've applied this approach with your clients. What have been either the most memorable, goals that you've helped your clients achieve, just so that this can be tangible, right? Finances isn't a mystery, but at the same time, I believe that a lot of people are just trying to understand this on the basic level.
Yeah, I mean, just again, starting simply, if you can start doing something like this, right? So if you can incorporate this practice, coming back and looking at what have you done, what have you accomplished just 6 months from now, well, or 3 months. So like starting in smaller increments is really powerful. And so what I've seen with clients is, if they come back on recurrent basis every 6 months, every year, and when we sit down to look at what has been accomplished, not from standpoint of how much return you've made on your investments. It's important, it's great, but it's not under your control. About what you've done personally, right? How much progress have you made? That is so satisfying. It is so satisfying from where I sit, right? Because it's like I can see it for you, but imagine being there yourself. So I think it's a lot more tangible than it seems.
And I would attest to this. I mean, I actually started doing Monday dates before I met Anna. So when we were partnered for this, I was really excited. But I think when you put the word date, it really just changes it from like some obligatory thing to actually trying to make how can you make finance fun for yourself? Like, how can you make it accessible? My way is going to a cafe, treating myself to, a lovely coffee, but also pastry, and just giving myself the whole day and space to work through things without feeling like it's another task because we're all busy individuals. We, are caretakers to many, mainly not ourselves. And so I try to actually establish this as me time. And it has helped my community as well in terms of our femtech salons, as well as, my comma. But so I'm really excited the fact that we're exposing this idea. You have all the tools. And so where can people find you, Anna, if they actually want support in this?
Totally. You guys can find us at our financial planning company, MainStreet planning.com. I'm most active if you want to follow on social media on Instagram, Money Boss Parent. And I also have a podcast weekly. So I talk about it's Money Boss Podcast. I talk about any topics relating to money, parenting, and everything in between.
We're going to come back a little personal now because that's like my thing. It's like, yes, we have these topics, but all right. So if you were on a talk show, what would be your walk-off song?
I wish I could play it. Okay, so Imagine Dragons Believer. It's funny, my son watches all kinds of cartoons and stuff on YouTube, and so he found this family that he follows now. I mean, the 4-year-old. It's called Fun Club, and so they're big fans of Imagine Dragons, and so they have their kids singing the songs, and so it's like we geek out in our kitchen a lot, and it's Believer, and I think it's a great song because it really it makes a full circle for me from where I have come personally and how far my family have come along and just believing in what I do. And I feel like money is such an amazing topic that connects so many people. So yeah, it's just like that one song that connects everything.
Well, I've spent this time with asking questions to you, but do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, I'd love for you to share with everybody what is my comma.
Yeah, so my comma is an organic period care subscription platform. We love working with women and BIPOC-led brands and try and amplify and curate a more personalized experience around menstruation. So we are a couple years old, but really what grew out of that and my passion as an advocate for health equity is the Femtech Salon. And so we have these events, two in LA, one in Atlanta. Our next one's in South by Southwest. So if you're there, please come reach out, let me know. It's really a celebration of diverse femtech founders and all the work that they've been doing because femtech as a category isn't just reproductive health. It is everything. It addresses, areas that are disproportionately affecting women and non-binary individuals, whether it's conditions like cardiology, cancer, skincare, it's everything. And so we're only 7 months old, but my comma is really that. Thank you. But it's community. And I feel like that's why it's been special to come here and meet other people is because my comma actually came out of one of, we had a business shower and that was someone's suggested that name because of our values. So that's where my comma is. But it really is like the Femtech Salon, and several people here have actually attended them. So please look out, please reach out. But yeah, that's a little bit about us.
Thank you so much. We're open for questions, so anyone, please. I think we have a couple more minutes left.
Do you do workshops or can somebody hire you to be a part of theirs?
Yes, anytime. Speaking, just like any educational platforms, whether it's online or in person. Yes.
Any other questions?
So I'm someone who has only recently had like a little bit of a savings set aside, and also someone who didn't have a credit card until the last couple like few years of my life. And I'm just curious: is it better to build your savings, or is it better to pay off your debt? Like if you have credit card debt.
Fantastic question.
I love that. It's one of my favorite questions. So, because it comes up all the time, right? It's like, so I suggest, and it of course it depends on everybody's situation, but I think you should do both, right? Because if you having some debt could be beneficial, right? Because it helps you maintain your score, and so there's building your credit history. But you want to build your savings or continue maintaining that because one, it helps create the nest, right, that you want. So if you're saving for emergency reserves, if you're saving for financial goals, like we talked about, that also helps. But what you don't want to find yourself in a situation where there is an emergency or there is something and you don't have, right, the reserve. So it's like a balancing act. So if the debt is still there, trying some creative ways how to pay it off, right? Maybe if it's a credit card debt, maybe refinance it, right, or get a credit card that has a lower interest and consolidate. But I think it's a balance. It's always a balancing act. It's not an extreme. Yeah, good question.
Which means you should grab a session with Anna a little bit afterwards. Yeah, she does. Any other questions? Oh, all the way in the back. Hold on.
If you could go back to your early 20s and change anything you've done about finances back then, what is probably the top 3 things you would have done differently?
Ooh, are you thinking right now, Anna? Because I'm thinking right now.
I'm going to try to come up with 3, but for sure. So I would probably go to my teens, not like 20s, because I made a whole bunch of mistakes when I was in college. And so one is not really knowing how to use debt properly. So I graduated from college. I almost had I had a finance degree, not in financial planning, just a finance degree, and I had student loans and credit card debt. Like I had no idea like how to put it all together. So if I could go back and actually learn the basics of money management, which I'm astonished that that's still not a thing when you're in high school. So that would have had a completely different path for me to begin my career, because not only I had to pay off student loans, but also manage credit cards. And so I got married early, so my relationship with my husband started like, oh, here I am, I have a whole bunch of debt, you still want to marry me? So he did. But I think if anything, that's like the biggest change I would make.
Sounds like he's a keeper. But I think that just opens up the conversation of I'm 37 and I'm still learning new ways of how to manage money. And so please don't feel guilty. Don't feel bad. I mean, it's really the fact that socially speaking, we've been conditioned not to. And so this is, time is now to actually take our power back, our wellness back. Any last questions before we close out the fireside? We are on Instagram, so I'm going to let Anna talk about hers.
Yes, Money Boss Parent is mine. Money Boss Parent.
And my community is my.life. COMMA.life. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone, for having us.
Thanks so much.